the feel-good movie of the year, When Evil Lurks.
Yes.
What a film. Let's see here. Gil. Because Adam didn't see it because he hates it. This is a Spanish film. And after Godzilla -1, he said, sorry, no subtitles for me. So Gil,
I've never even heard of this movie.
Dude,
I just sat through Solar last night. It's 3 hours long. It's an Indian film.
So, this came out on Shudder. I've heard nothing but like not really good things, just more people going like, holy shit, I was not expecting that. It's a pretty fucked up movie. Gil, what did you think?
Yeah, the movie's really good. I think of the 9 movies on the list that I watched, this is the only one that I would say is above and beyond something special. I think it was actually, I watched it after The Pope's Exorcist, so it was an interesting exercise in exorcism movies, because I think a possession story is hard to do. When you have somebody who's possessed and they have these undefined powers, sometimes they can snap your head around and kill you. Other times it's psychological manipulation and it's a priest sparring with a demon. And I feel like that's kind of been done already, but this movie found a unique way to handle possession. Because in this movie, there's no question of is possession real or not. People already know about it, and there are some rules around it, which means that people aren't helpless against the demons. They know there's at least some hope in how I can escape. There's some hope in how I can fight back. So this movie is thrilling. It's got long sequences that are almost in real time where it moves with such an intensity that you're not used to for a possession movie. And so I think it's really good. The characters feel real and grounded. When violence happens, it's shocking. And you feel like you've seen it all. But this movie finds a way to kind of get through the desensitization, if that's a word, and move you. The one caveat I'd give is that this movie, like a lot of horror movies that are very heavily praised by critics, is very dark and crosses into, I would say, bleak territory, which it turns me off from horror movies, because for me, sometimes when it crosses into hopeless, I kind of know where this is going. I start to sort of disconnect and start to wonder, I don't know why I'm putting myself through experiencing this movie. But if you like, Robert Eggers' The Witch, if you liked The Howling and movies of this ilk, this movie's really well done. You'll love it. I don't know if it's the movie for me, even though I think it's great.
I will say, it didn't try to trick you. The tagline literally says, there's no point in praying.
This is a very accurate poster here.
Sarah, what did you think about the feel-good movie of the year?
I absolutely loved it. As I'm love gory movies. I'm not gonna lie. I love practical effects, and I love a whole lot of blood. When it got real, it got real. Are we allowed to get into specifics?
A little bit, without spoiling the ending, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
Does she learn how to hold an axe before the movie's over, or is it always
there's a reason for this.
Okay,
there's a reason.
It's actually a thing.
Yeah.
Adam, not to spoil too many things, but 5 seconds after this image, she's not around anymore. Okay. So anyway, keep going, Sarah.
Yeah. I won't go too into it, but I mean, there are visuals, I'll tell you that much. I just really like how the makeup's done, and I just, from a technical standpoint, I just really like it. Visually very, not pleasing. It's icky and gross.
Yeah, I was about to say, none of the makeup effects were visually pleasing. They were effective and good.
They were. That's why they're pleasing, because I just think it was really cool and awesome, and it was really dark and messed up, and like what Gil said, it is really bleak, and I didn't really think about that until you said that. I thought that was really interesting.
Really, I like 30 minutes into the movie, I'm like, this is the most depressing thing I've seen since Hereditary.
Well, no. Like I got that, but like I just never really. I guess I tend to really like those movies, and I never really took to think that other people
might not like it.
I don't know. Yeah. I tend to go towards those movies a lot more often.
Kaylee, what did you think of this one?
I loved this. I loved
Yeah.
every single moment of it. There were multiple times where I was like holding my hands up to the TV like this because I was freaking out. I thought it was just absolutely incredible. I think it's really cool that it wasn't just the demon in the movie, which again, the town is aware of the demon's existence, or, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. But it's also a movie that's really about your inner demons and not being able to escape them. So, you know, you have the demon of your ex-partner, you have the demon of co-parenting, you have the demon of family. I think it's just really, really interesting and really well done. I think it talks a lot about, you know, the idea of a town becoming so overrun by something outside of that town's control. So kind of maybe like that corporate greed sort of stuff, which I think is really cool too. It does not shy away from any of the kills. It is up close and personal, which I think is outstanding. It does stuff that a lot of other horror movies refuse to do, especially when it relates to both kids and to animals. And I'm always impressed when somebody is actually willing to confront that head on. I think it's really important that we look at stuff like that when we are being voyeurs of movies. And I think it makes for really interesting social commentary. I thought this was beautiful. Just, I can't say enough good about this.
I will. The reason I was like remembering Hereditary, because Hereditary was one of those, like in the very beginning, like the girl's head gets cut off, but they kind of like do it real quick. And you think that's going to be it. And then like a minute later, they cut to the head like you weren't expecting to see it. I will say the first real brutal kill, the digital effects made it kind of funny. The axe going into the head did look a little goofy. Also in the beginning, when they're trying to drive the fat possessed guy out of town, I don't know if any of you are Trailer Park Boy fans, but it reminded me when they had Sam on the roof because they thought they killed Sam and then he just falls off the roof. So I was like laughing my ass off because it was just reminding me of Trailer Park Boys. But yeah, you said about personal demons. For me, I'm sure someone else will probably agree. This kind of felt like how people react during like pandemics or some kind of sickness. We're like, all right, we figured this out. This is what you need to do. And the main character is just making the worst possible decisions the entire time. And I'm wondering if that's like a commentary on people who like, you know, don't get vaccinations or any other thing. Like if someone gets a cold and they're like, yeah, you know, I'll go to work where I work with old people while I have a cold. It's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, you idiot. Because the dad in this movie is literally getting everyone killed just because of his incompetence. Joey C's character that he's doing as a bit for this episode. What did you think?
I don't know what you're talking about there. Again, I was fighting the brownie from before, so
God damn it!
I was fighting the giggles. But I had to focus extra hard on the subtitles because I was somewhere else. But Gil had mentioned that this movie is unique, and I think another unique factor is in like normal paranormal movies or whatever, most of the characters like don't believe at first. In this movie, like the whole village believes everything wholeheartedly from the beginning, and I really dig that. And I don't know, I just think this movie was great. The tense atmosphere and the superstitious village really adds to it. So this gets 2 brownies up for me, man.
Is that our Kaylee, how many 7-up or how many thumbs up does this get?
This gets 7 thumbs up. Easily. Out of 7 is the maximum number of thumbs that you can have.
Crystal, what did you think about the feel-good movie of the year?
Oh my God, it felt so good. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I've been waiting to watch this because I've been seeing on Twitter, everyone just saying how amazing this is. And every aspect of it, from the acting to the set, the lighting, the practical effects, the guy in the beginning, what have they been calling him the whole time? The
rotten. They
the
call
rotten.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was it rotten? It was so good to where
like full
there
of pus and boils.
everything,
And
I was squirming. My boyfriend and I were squirming as they were trying to get him out of the bed. Like, oh God,
That's so gross.
And I actually
shitting everywhere.
Oh God! And then I never turn my head away from films or anything, but when towards the end when they're pulling the things out of like the one person's mouth, I'll say I actually had to turn because I was like, started like gagging a little bit. I was like, oh God. But with that said, I thought it was absolutely beautiful. The parts with the children, it was intense. It was something new. I wasn't predicting any aspect of it. It was very original. I absolutely loved it.
Whereas Pope's Exorcist was very cliche and generic, this one, I didn't know where it was going half the time. Although there are some moments, this movie is great at building tension. And I think we all know the dog scene in this, where I was just waiting for what happens to happen the entire time. So yeah, basically the demons are like a viral infection. Basically they possess a body and they want you to kill them so they can be born. But they're able to like possess other things. And the guy was like, we have to leave and we have to leave everything behind because the demon infected everything. We got to change our clothes. But since he's an idiot, he goes into his ex-wife's house and takes the clothes off there, and the dog is sniffing the clothes. And from that moment on, I'm just laser focused on the dog. I'm like, that dog's gonna fuck something up. That dog is gonna do something. And then sure enough, it does. And even though I was waiting for it, I was still like, oh my God. There are like several scenes like that in this film.
I love the rules, though. It was like one of the rules, though. Stay away from animals. And he knew the rules, and he just ignored half of them. I was like, what the hell?
Well, that's that's another thing where I'm thinking, like, you know how, like, what you call it, like polio or whatever is, like, shown up back in schools because people just aren't following the rules and whatnot. I thought maybe that's what it was, like a commentary on that. It's like people know what to do, and they're purposely doing the wrong thing, and they're this thing that was taken care of is now coming back.
Well,
Gil,
he actually...
Oh, sorry. No, Sarah.
He actually did say what his inspiration was.
Okay.
Like for the film recently, in like a Q&A. I'm reading it off my phone.
Okay.
So he got the idea from a series of news stories about farm pesticides in his native Argentina town, causing widespread health issues. He suggests that corporate apathy without the workers' health and the way the issue occurred out in the middle of nothing, where it's easy for profiteers and city dwellers to ignore the impact of their choices, started him thinking about the idea of lurking evils giving free rein to spread. So it's a little
interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you wouldn't think. But now that you like know about it, it's really interesting.
And it's interesting because they say throughout the movie too, like, oh, this type of thing never happens here. It only happens in big cities. It only happens in big cities. It will never happen here. So that's interesting. That's where
and they make a point to show like the government's like incompetent because they were like, hey, we reported this a year ago, and then there's kind of like a thing where like, did they want it? Did they just want to let it happen so they could take over the land afterwards? I did want to know, like, there is like a way to stop them with this like weird device, and I was just waiting for it to be used the whole goddamn movie, and it never gets used. And I'm like, really wanted to know what happened there. But yeah, the rules were a little overly complicated. Like, don't use electric lights, and then they don't check that the kid's bear has a light on it, so the demon's able to get in. But yeah, it's got things you've probably never seen in a possession film before. It'll constantly keep you guessing. And it's really uncomfortable. Like, this one's going to sit with me for a while. Not as much as Hereditary. That one, for whatever reason, really got under my skin. But this is one that I've watched recently where I'm like, yeah, this is going to be not as much, but it's still going to be under my skin for like the next few weeks. Yeah, a great film. Great film. Any last words?
Just an update for you, monetization update. You're at 13 minutes and 48 seconds on this one, so we're good.
You've been timing it this whole time, waiting like, oh, this is going to be a good one.
I started it late.
Wow, that multiple ad breaks I could put into that.
Yeah, you
anyway,
get at least 8 mid-roll ads in this one.
For the 15 people searching When Evil Lurks on YouTube for reviews, we got them.
My New Year's resolution is to make sure Adam isn't in any of these movies.
It's a win-win.
These reviews. Oh, fuck you! No, fuck you! That's a win. You're gonna be in all of them now.